Listen carefully as you read along. This story will help you practice your listening and reading skills in English.
The Secret of the Offering. Lupita never believed the stories her grandmother whispered by the fire. Those legends of returning souls, of portals that opened only once a year. They seemed like simple tales to keep children in line. Every Day of the Dead, while the whole town dressed in flowers and shadows, she merely helped her mother hang papel picado, paying no attention to the whispers floating like incense through the cobblestone streets. But that year, something changed. On the afternoon of October 31st, a gust of cold air led her to the attic. Among forgotten boxes and blankets devoured by time, she found a trunk that creaked at her touch, as if protesting being opened. Inside, between yellowed photographs and letters undone by moisture, lay a dark wooden mask. It was carved with chilling detail, tight lips, half-closed eyes, and an expression that seemed to hold centuries of silence. When her fingers brushed it, an icy jolt ran down her spine. "That shouldn't be here," said a trembling voice behind her. Lupita turned around, startled. In the doorway stood her grandmother, pale as the moon, eyes fixed on the mask. "What is this, Grandma?" The old woman closed her eyes as if an ancient wound had reopened in her memory. "It's the mask of the Aztec goddess of death," she murmured. "Your great-grandmother used it to speak with the other side. But that comes with a price. Leave it where you found it." But Lupita's curiosity, that spark that always got her into trouble, was stronger. That night, while the town celebrated among candles and tamales, she hid the mask under her sweater and headed alone to the cemetery. The moon, round and pale, hung like a watchful eye over the graves. Surrounded by altars and withered flowers, she put on the mask. Nothing happened at first. Then the wind stopped, the crickets fell silent, and a familiar voice, too familiar, broke the stillness. "Lupita," her heart skipped a beat. "Dad," she whispered. Figures began to rise from the ground. They weren't the smiling spirits that adorned the altars. These presences were dark, dragging invisible chains, their eyes glowing with an ancient hunger. "You have torn the veil," said her grandmother, suddenly appearing beside her. She held a ceremonial knife in one hand and a bundle of herbs smoldering in the other. "The mask is not for the living," she shouted. "Now, there is a price to pay." Lupita tried to rip the mask off, but it had fused to her skin. The shadows drew closer. She felt bony hands reaching for her. "Run to the church," her grandmother cried, pushing her. "As long as the bell rings, you'll be safe." She ran like never before. The cold licked her neck. When she finally crossed the threshold of the old chapel, the bells began to toll, tearing through the air with their sacred echo. Inside, the priest turned pale at the sight of her. "That mask, where did you get it?" he asked, stepping back as if he had seen a ghost. Lupita couldn't answer. The words caught in her throat, as if the mask still gripped her from within. She began to fade little by little. But before she collapsed, she heard her grandmother say, "Quick, father, we must save her." At dawn, the townsfolk found Lupita in the cemetery. Beside her rested the body of her grandmother, surrounded by melted candles. In her hands she held the mask, cracked, dull, asleep once more. No one understood how she had gotten there. Lupita never spoke of what happened that night. But ever since, every day of the dead, when the wind blows from the graveyard and the leaves dance in strange circles, Lupita hears a whisper floating through the air. The veil is thin, but not all are meant to cross it.
Let's explore some of the key words found in the story, The Secret of the Offering. Listen carefully, not just to the definitions, but to how each word breathes life into the tale. Whispers are soft, secret sounds like voices floating in the wind. In the story, the streets are filled with whispers as if the town itself remembers the past. Cobblestone refers to the round stones that pave old streets. You can almost hear Lupita's footsteps echoing over the cobblestone paths as she walks through her village. Blankets are warm, comforting covers. In the attic, time has devoured the blankets, leaving only faded memories and frayed edges. To brush something is to touch it lightly. When Lupita brushed her fingers against the wooden mask, a chill ran down her spine. A spark is a flash of energy, quick and powerful. It was curiosity, Lupita's spark, that set everything into motion. Withered means dried out, lifeless. The cemetery was filled with withered flowers, petals curled like ancient secrets. To skip means to move quickly and lightly, almost playfully. But in this story, joy has no place. What is skipped is the beating of her heart when she hears that voice. Dragging means pulling something heavily along the ground. The shadows were dragging chains when something else, something unseen. Glowing means shining softly. In the silence, the mask seemed to be glowing, lit by something far older than candlelight. Tearing is to rip apart with force. As the veil between worlds thinned, the air itself felt like it was tearing open. Dawn is the beginning of day, when darkness slowly gives way to light. At dawn, everything is revealed, sometimes gently, and sometimes not. And finally, melted. To melt is to change from solid to liquid, like the candles at her grandmother's altar melted into silence, and maybe peace. Thank you for journeying with us through the whispers and shadows of the secret of the offering. Each word, each image, is a step toward mastering not just a language, but a world of stories. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to subscribe to Fluent Curiosity. Until next time, keep listening and keep your curiosity alive.